A very warm welcome to you all, a different kind of start to my normal videos. So I thought we'd actually go straight into the build for a change and get back into actually doing some more scratch building. There's going to be a lot more scratch building that I can bring to this video and future videos. So without further ado, do you remember the scene from the old layout? This was Old Oak Common Road going under the bridges to the Old Oak Common Depot. That was from the old layout, and we obviously incorporated that on this part of the layout. So I've done a little bit more work to it, and then we can start work on other areas. So without further ado, I'm going to stop waffling as I normally do and get into the build, because it'd be nice to actually nip some of this together. So let's go on and do some work. So from this point onwards, it is pretty much grey paint, black paint, white paint, lots and yellows, that kind of thing. Lots of PVA glue just to sort of mat it down a little bit, and then I'm sanding it down just to sort of fill blemishes. The screws will disappear, you won't see them. There is the next plan, which you'll see in the next 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. So all change, it's been updated a little bit more. I've added some grass, a little curbstone, and some other bits. You may have noticed there is a little bus depot. This is a new feature that I thought I'd add. Obviously Acton had a bus garage, and I thought it'd be a nice little feature to have. They won't be the buses that are in there because they're all over the country, them ones. They'll be painted up in time. There's a little project I'll pick up, so they'll be all red buses. But that'd be nice to have some lights in there. You can see some groundwork, all that kind of thing. So I might add a little cameo scene underneath the bus garage in the arch there. I've incorporated the pavements like I did before. Again, these are ones that I've made up myself, just on the machines that I've made up, and sort of cut them to sort of fit. You could use plastic card, 2mm, something like that, same sort of thing. The top bit on the left there, you can see is all just wood. I will finish that in time. I'm not going to worry about that right this very second. Obviously, because I'm doing more work to the depot after I finish this bit, and that will then obviously, once I've got that in place, the two will complement each other, and that's a case of I need to do both sides at the same time. I don't want to just finish one side off. I need to sort of make sure that they both sort of complement each other. A nice little cameo there. I think that's a nice little feature. Got to add some bins, I've got to add some people, yellow lines, white lines, all that sort of thing. I quite like the way that's come out, and it's a nice little duck down into that little cameo. All that's left for me to do from this point is to do the little sidings underneath the iron girder bridge. So I shall do all that and move down that side of the layout once I've finished the depot that I'm actually doing some work to. The feature of the old layout was the prototypical mitre bridge that's actually in the semi-industrial area of West London, goes from Old Oak Common between Harlesden and Acton. This is a very iconic bridge for me, as it carries all the West London line from the Grand Union Canal, as well as the Great Western Main Line into Paddington, and it is a vital asset for more than 100 years. So it is an iconic bridge and something that I wanted to capture on the layout, and again I wanted to bring this to the new layout. Now, from the existing one that I had, as you can see, I have adapted some new components, I've strengthened the floor, and I've had to extend the sides out. Now, the reason for that is because when I actually made it, it was just aesthetics. It wasn't actually designed to actually do anything. I had made it a touch smaller. It wouldn't actually take a train right through because of the track. It was just designed to fit on the old layout. But I've extended the bottom by making some I-beams. They now carry a new floor pan, which will extend it from one side to the other. I've also extended the A-frame from the front, so that was originally cut off to fit on the old layout. So I've actually extended that now.
So how far has this come? It's come a long way from between one layout onto the new layout, and it obviously needed some modifications, and it needed to be a touch wider as well. So with that all said, it's on the layout and working beautifully. To make the I-beams, I will show you how I made these. This has all been done with plastic card, and again I've used some plastic magic to sort of weld the components. This is not a how-to, this is just how I do it. So I just thought this might be some inspiration for someone else. Okay, to create an I-beam, I've made these little jigs up. These work quite well. It's an old one I've used for a long time, and I've made a bit of a more modern one. If you've got a Cricut machine, cut loads of strips of these out, and then you've got them all done. That's what I do most of the time. If you haven't got any machines and you've got the old-fashioned scalpel and a ruler, this is what I do. It doesn't work for everyone. I set this to 4mm. I do 2 4mm, so literally we'll scratch, give a little score down there, and basically you want to make 3 component parts. I'm just going to make one on that side, and I'm going to do one smaller one on that side because I'm going to cut these in half to make a small one. So that's 4mm. They're going to make this one 3mm. And then do another little scribe down there. Just keeping an even scribe. There we go. Just going to sharpen up the line, and then that, just going to, and then that will give you your parts, and then this is the 3mm part. And because it's plastic card, it pops out really easy, he says. There we go. Now I'm going to cut this one into half, and I'm going to do that one like that. I was about to say. Right, so the idea is I've got one in the middle, 2 at the bottom. So to do this, basically I feed one in the bottom, put that one in the middle. Now this jig is designed to do the top and bottom all in one go, but if you want a better job, it's actually best to do not to rush it. So just basically line up with a scalpel. Don't rush it like I'm doing it, take lots of time, and as you can see, that's basically holding the shape of what you want. And then it is a case of little drop on there, little drop on there. Just wait 30 seconds for that to dry, and then once that's dry you can feed your bit through, and then you can add a little seam of plastic weld down both sides, push it down a little bit. So once you've got that bit done, going to feed that through a bit more, and take it right to the end, give it the last bit, and then you have a really nice neat I-beam. Let it dry for 30 seconds. Okay, and then pull it out, and then you can see you've got a T shape. And what you do from this point onwards, line up your T shape on top of your little flat. So put a big blob of weld on there, scalpel, and just line them up, and then just let that dry in. This is how I do them by hand. The back is a little bit twisted at the moment, but I just basically get the front into to weld. Once that little spot there's in, it's where it needs to be, I can then tack the back in. Okay, that gives us our I-beam, and then this bit here, just run a seam down both sides of there, in the middle, and just gently press it, literally using hardly any pressure, And basically there is your I-beam. So you can make lots of these, save yourself a lot of money, but make yourself a little jig like this, or like the one that I made there, just literally to the size you want, and this will make you your little I-beams. Again, I've only made that in a few seconds, well, a couple of minutes. The more time you put into it, the nicer and the neater they'll look. There we go, I-beams for your layout.
Time to make some good old fuel tanks. So this was a trick that I saw at one of the exhibitions. Some drainage pipe. This is about a 3.5 4 inch drainage pipe, and basically just cut a tube, put some plastic card on the top, sand it down nice and smooth, so you get a little disc on the top, and that gives you your fuel tank. From that point onwards, it's all about colour and adding some details to get the look or desired look that you want. It does take a little while to do, but it's actually quite cool. One thing I did add on this one, I added some little ribs around the side, so I just create a little depth with the gauges there. So that's to scratch a line both sides, so it's even in 3 parts. And then with that line, I then use that as a guide that I could add the fine 1mm plastic card lining details on there to look like weld marks on the actual cylinder. So it's a case of just tacking one down with a little bit of the liquid glue, roll it into position, and then literally just try and knit the two together, get them lined up, and then just cut them and then feed them together with a little bit of, again, the liquid plastic glue, the plastic weld. Once that's done, a little touch on there, sealed together, and just rub them together, and then that will add quite nicely. And then just a little tiny wet seal around the actual plastic there to melt it in finally, because you don't want it coming off. This is done in all sections, and then a little rib in the middle on sort of like 3 different locations to make it look like the weld has gone down through the cylinder on the outside. As you can see there, I've done a little feature there, all just to make a little bit of aesthetics, to make it look like more of a cylinder, a little bit more fun really. I've created a platform, again just using plastic card, and then obviously getting the area for the steps is the next thing for me to do. I have 3D printed some steps, and I've added a base around it, added some ballast, sprayed it all up. Quite like the way it looks. So really happy with this one. Very simple build. Tubes with plastic card on the top, and then just a little plastic card base and some ballast and a retaining wall. Really simple stuff, and then that will save you a lot of money. I've seen a lot of people put 6 or 7 of these together, but 2's enough for me. That will give me the optimized storage that I need for fuel. Time for me to do a scratch build and to build a gasometer. Now, I searched a DIY store the other day like crazy, looked at guttering, and guttering was about nearly 10 quid. So I then looked around the store and I found this air duct tubing. Now, this is more than I need. I only need literally a few inches. I don't need almost a metre there, so that's good. It was only £1.90, so this is perfect for what I need. It's almost 6 inches, 5 to 6 inches, so it's just the right sort of size for my gasometer really. Now this is the area that I'm planning, so this was pretty much my space that I needed to add, and that's the area that I was given to do my tower. So with the optimized space that I've created, I went on the Mac and I've made some CAD drawings of the frameworks that I need to make a gasometer. Now I've put a little lid on top of my cylinder there. That's just a bit of plastic card glued in, and then with the little parts that I've printed out, I've literally built them up bit by bit. It's taken a complete age, and I could have done it a different way. This way I knew that it was all going to fit, because it is a little bit mathematical. But anyway, got it all in, and I was quite pleased with the results. A fun little project, and nice little day chilling out, listening to music, building something that's really cool. So with that, a little bit of spray over it, did a little white primer, just sort of sealed it all in a little bit, give it a little bit more strength as well in itself. I do like the dimension, the artwork that it is. It looks quite cool in its own right. Something I could show without the cylinder in. But the cylinder itself, I've painted it over with my typical rustic paints. I've had these for about 6 years. They'll probably last me another 6 years the way they go. I've just literally used a bit of rustic around it, and then I took off the wrapper around the bottom, and that gave me the brown stain around it. It does need a dome on the top, and that's something I'm actually doing at the moment, but I will come back to at a latter part. I'm just sort of creating the parts for it, and I will finish that in time. I have fitted the underground. I've got the old Baker Street is back in there. It's under the main station at the moment. Here's a little line that goes up and down. I need to sort the little cars out there once the bodies come off. But I've added Baker Street, so it's back in there. Put new lights in there. I'd do a lot more work to it. It's just in there at the moment. It is on a shuttle, and it does go up and down, and it just goes off and it comes back when it's ready. So really pleased that this is in. It does work on its own, and it has its own lighting as well. So it's all been done. I'll switch on the lighting. I've done this by using an old transformer case that I had spare, and I've added all the electrics in there, and that gives me all the accessible parts to switch things on separately. Here comes the train, comes in and it stops when it needs to stop, and then it goes off when it's ready to do its little disappear. I'm really pleased that this is in. This is the view from above where the station is, so you'll see there'll be a road in there or something, and then obviously some buildings all around it, so it'll be hidden away this area here. This is the station, so that's the view you'll get. So there'll be 4 lanes into the station, and then a little express line that I can run the train in, and then you've got the underground underneath it. So a lot of work to do here. I'm still playing with this one, doing lots of bits and pieces, but it's working, and all the points are in, and they now work. Finally get to a point where I really want to start some work. Now this was one of the first things I did on my first layout, was the loco depot. I do love a good depot. My other one was very compromised, it was too small, but it was my passion that drove the layout. Again, I've gone a little bit bigger on the depot this side, and created more of a grey space. The grey space is the something I always forget, which is the infrastructure that supports a depot, which is your mess rooms, all the utilities or the facilities, that kind of thing. So that will be in the footprint you see, which is a grey area. Now I'm using expanding foam there, wall filler. That's going to be the ramp down, and the back seam bit there, that will all be shaped in time. There's a lot more to do on this section, but you can see I've got a footprint of how it's going to look, what it's going to be like. I have got a little plan with the grey area there. I'm going to put a little bit of track down as my test track for like programming the locos, and I'm going to put the building on top of it. That's something I'm planning to do, so therefore I can lift off one of my mess buildings, and inside will be my test track. Then I can just put it back on, so it'll be hidden within the layout, separate from the layout. I've added some plaster cloth and some more sculpture mold. So this was a load of stuff I bought on Amazon. I think I bought 8 packs for about £5. So it's been an absolute blessing, and just slapping it all in place like you do. So it's a lot of me fast forwarding, putting down plaster cloth. Don't need to tell you how to do it. It's really simple, good fun, bit messy, but certainly makes a scene that you want. So another little feature that I've added are these little levers. I've printed these out, little lever frames, and I think these look pretty cool. So just move the middle peg out, and then I've created this little brass bar in the point itself, and that will slide underneath of the lever frame. to give the appearance that as you move the point, there is something moving under the lever frame. They are a pain in the backside to fit and a pain to get going, but with a little bit of fettling, they do look pretty good. And as you can see, they look quite cool. So that's all done and they're in place. And for them, put them on all the depot area. So I've added some plaster cloth and some more poly filler underneath the depot. I've added the inspection pit.
A really easy build, this one, just some balsa wood made into like a rectangle and then some little plastic steps going down either end. I've double lined the walls to hide the LEDs because I don't want them protruding through the wall, so they are hidden inside the wall. There is 14 LEDs and the total voltage of all of them once they're on is no more than 3 volts, and they will stay running on a battery probably till I've decided differently, but for the moment they can tuck underneath the layout in a very accessible area and I can access them. They will in time be on a switch, but probably still will stay on a 3-volt battery just to maintain safety. But there is no worries of them bulbs actually getting hot, but I think just take the electricity element out of it. The only thing I might change is where the wall of the pit is. It is a little bit bright. I have reduced the voltage of the LEDs using a resistor, and I may do that yet again, but I think I might put some tracing paper in there to diffuse it once more and then spray it over in a brick fashion and then dirty it over. See what that looks like. Might be able to break the illusion on that one. Really pleased the way this has gone in and the way it's gone.
Then it's on to some ballasting. So I've used a lot of tea leaves on this because I want to add as like a ground layer and obviously add some black to it to get more of that dirty blacky kind of look. There will be grass on top, so now it's onto ballasting as well. It takes an age to do this. It's all about taking your time with this one. I caught a couple of the levers whilst doing it, so that wasn't good, so I've had to replace a couple of them. But you live and learn. It is a model railway, and it's all about the fun of creating after all. Bit more ballasting done. I've let it settle for about a week just in its own self, and then obviously tamper it, just sprayed it down and then seal it all in.
So the final outcome, you can see pretty much everything's on the layout on the depot area. Haven't dressed it yet with barrels and oil pipes, things like that. All those have to come at a latter point. It's just basically a little bit of playability at this point to give me some landscape to know where the bridge area fits and how it goes on from here. For some reason I always seem to build the depot first, and I think that's my key to my success. I really love a depot. This one's bigger than anything I've done before, and this gives me a great advantage. I can display a lot of different kinds of locos, and that was always my thing. I wanted to see all the locos on the layout, even for photo shots, things like that. It may draw a lot more power, but the system can take it. It's not a problem. It just means that I can show a full yard completely rammed with locos and then move them around if I want to, or I can just have it nearly empty. It gives me a lot of diversity at this point. The fuel tanks I'm actually going to go over with more of a light grey. I just don't think the silver is fitting for the tanks in this kind of layout, in this kind of depot. In Old Oak they were a very light grey, and I pretty much want to replicate that kind of thing, even though these are completely different tanks than Old Oak. So that's something I might change. There is a couple of things as well. This part will progress in time, and there'll be lots of changes, no doubt, in little ways, but the actual footprint is where it is, and I think that gives me a good start to get things going. And I'm looking forward to getting on with the next bits. There's a lot more things I can do with underneath the bridge area, the bus depot. I've got all those things to get on with, but they will stay as they are for the time being, and I will get on with the goods area that's in underneath the mitre bridge that I built. So there's a lot more to do and a lot more progress to see.
Building away, some unplanned locos arrived. Yes, a Class 37 and a Great Western Cooker Manor. I ask you, how rude. So let's have a little look. So this is Cooker Manor. Absolutely love this engine. It's my first ever steamer in DCC Sound fitted. I love the whistles. You've got a long whistle, and that'll go on for as long as you want it to. You have a quick 2. That's a really nice feature. And then you've got like a slow release whistle. And when they're running, they sound really cool. I love the slight echo you get on the whistles. That's a really nice feature, and it is how I remember it. It's got that echo to it, so it's really cool. Sounds really awesome in here. So that's the Cooker Manor. Again, smooth as anything. And of course, my other purchase is the Class 37043 Loch Lomond. It's a little bit off the beaten track for Old Oak Common, but I love the livery. It's one of my favourite liveries on a Class 37. I have one of these in V-Trains, or V-Trains, whatever you want to call it. It is a bit of a naff loco, if I'm honest, the V-Trains one. But this one is by far trumps it, and there's lots and lots of detail and lots of little lighting features that sort of outweighs this. So again, I love this loco. Stick it in, I think that's in that way round, I'm not too sure, so reverse, give it a little turn, and you can see absolutely smooth, really smooth one to drive on this one. Some great features. There's headlight features on the front and the back, and again I'll put them on. I'll switch it into forwards, and you can see the headlights slowly come on. There we go, and I'll pause it there for a second. Really slow. Again, 10-second stay alive in these, so you're sitting on the points. My points are pretty good, actually, to be honest, but if I have any problems, these trains will actually ride through them, so there's not any problems. Yeah, absolutely love these, and they've got obviously cab lights and all the rest. I can't quite remember all the features of these, so I'm not going to go through all the details on these, but the detailing is absolutely superior. Really love it, and I love the detailing they give. It's not actually going to be broken with your fingers. It's actually well cast into the model, so there's been a lot of thought into this, and I've said this before. So well done, Accurascale. Again, brilliant information on detailing the buffer beams in the colour picked out diagrams with the red for certain parts and the greens and stuff and the greys. They've done that in the instructions, tell you what goes where and how that goes. and it has different options for you, and that, again, that's highlighted in the different colours. So a lot of thought in that process. Again, another little brochure with detail about the locomotive and its running history, so you can fit that to your layout or your scene. So some great features. Again, 10 out of 10, love this loco. Another one of my favourites, and it will go quite nicely around my little depot here on the layout. So there is our Cookham Manor and our Class 37 trundling around the layout. Really nice to see them. Really impressed and really happy with both these models. Well blown away with the Class 37. The way you can lift the lid off and then get access to the decoder. Really easy. I didn't go for the sound fitted version this time. That's something I can add at a later point. That's not a big deal for me. And it's knowing that the speakers are all in there really what sold it for me. The fact that it's all there, just got to put the chip in, and something that's revolutionary. So really impressed. Again, the Cookham Manor, so many features in that. It brought back a lot of memories for me. So just seeing that little model running around, because I could see some of the parts that obviously I was measuring with my grandfather when he was building a 5-inch version. We used to go and see the Cookham Manor, and we'd measure a lot of that real loco. So it's interesting to see that a lot of these details are actually incorporated on the model, and that's a really nice feature. Probably given me a bit more passion for it, if I'm honest. So that's our Cookham Manor and our Class 37, two outstanding locos. Very pleased. That's really pleased with them. So yeah, really cool. Like that, there is obviously a lot more work I've got to do. As you can see, the layout is now come up to speed in a really fast way. I've been cracking on with a lot of the work, and that was to give you the most content for this video. That said and done, just would like to say a massive thank you for everyone that's followed my journey and tagged along for everything I've done, and thank you to all our new subscribers. Thank you for joining our journey as well, so thank you so much. All is left for me to say, happy modelling as always, look after yourselves and keep happy smiling, and I'll catch you on the next video. Till then, cheery bye, and I'll see you all very soon.